The Marion Finucane Show on RTE Radio 1 with Ireland's savings specialists. Rabodirect, the straight-talking savings bank. The Marion Finucane Show on RTE Radio 1 with Ireland's savings specialists. Rabodirect, the straight-talking savings bank.
Welcome back to the programme. Now, we'll be talking later on in the programme about sports of different types, including various plans to go to France during the summer. But before all of that, I thought you might be interested in his story about a sport I never heard of in my entire life called walking football. And it's a small story from today's Telegraph. For anybody travelling to the Euros this summer, especially if you're thinking of bringing along your boots for the odd game yourself while you're there, a game of walking football in England was recently abandoned after just 2 minutes, after a huge brawl broke out on the pitch. The game was between Canterbury Walking Football Club and Herne Bay Walking Football Club, with players from 50 to 70 taking part. Violence broke out on the pitch after one player was seemingly on the receiving end of a vicious crunching tackle just after kick-off. Even the referee joined in the brief punch-up before quickly abandoning the game. Walking football, which has around 500 teams around the UK, is a variant of normal football. Same rules like offside and penalties, but with players walking instead of running. How about that? Sorry, our guest is sitting across from me and he's laughing at that, because let me tell you what we're going to talk about now. It isn't a patch on walking. Well, it's a seriously greater patch than walking football. Listen, have a listen to this.
I'm here to win every belt, and then I'm gone. I'll set it ablaze and walk away. Hollywood want a piece of this. I'm touching markets that the UFC have never touched before. We'll continue to rise and continue to grow and see where it goes, but the sky is the limit. When you can rack up $400 million in revenue for the company in back-to-back events, you can do whatever the you want. I'm living the whatever the fuck I want life.
On March 5th, I will behead Rafael dos Anjos. I will drag his head through the streets of Rio de Janeiro, through a parade of people, I'd imagine. It will become a national holiday also, I would imagine. Me and Jesus are cool. I'm cool with all the gods. Gods recognize gods.
Nothing like a bit of humility. I say to myself, well, our next guest, who is in fits of laughter, otherwise I wouldn't have been laughing myself, is responsible for training, arguably, Ireland's biggest sports star, possibly wealthiest sports star, Conor McGregor, the UFC world champion. If you're not familiar with the sport, hopefully you'll find out now. John Kavanagh, you're the coach, you're responsible. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and
you liked that walking football, didn't you?
That's unbelievable.
Anyway, there you go. Slightly different to what you do. Would you please explain to people what mixed martial arts are? I'll run through a few things. Full contact sport combines different fighting styles, including karate, boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, valet tudo, whatever that is, Muay Thai, Thai boxing, I think, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, you're on target.
Except I haven't a clue what it is.
Very simply, it's the name describes what it is. It's a mix of martial arts. So if you combine all the combat sports that are currently in the Olympics, boxing, taekwondo, judo and wrestling, you pretty much have mixed martial arts. It was actually the original Olympic sport. It was called pankration back then, when the Greeks mixed boxing and wrestling. So that's its roots, and now it's arguably one of the biggest global sports.
Is it? Is it really?
It's truly a global sport, because over here we don't really care about American football or baseball, and over there they don't really care about soccer or cricket.
Indeed.
But everywhere in the world, mixed martial arts is already popular or gaining popularity very, very quickly.
Right. Now, you qualified as an engineer, so presumably that was your ambition at the time. How, why, where, when, what did you switch?
Yeah, it was actually my first year in college that I saw UFC 1. UFC is the biggest organisation for mixed martial arts, like the Premier League is for soccer. And I just fell in love with it. I'd done martial arts my whole life, but this was very raw, it was very real, and very appealing to me. And while I was in college, I was 5 years getting my degree. I was training during those 5 years, and by the time I graduated, I was pretty good at it, and I figured that I'd give it a go. I would try to open up my first gym and see if I could make a living at coaching, training, competing in mixed martial arts, and if it didn't work out, I would get a real job, as I tell my parents.
Yeah.
Well, that was 14 years ago, and and now I'm here with you.
Right. What was your mother cried when
Yeah, my mum and dad were not exactly fans to begin with. When they came down to see my first, I say gym in inverted commas, it was around about the size of the room we're in. It was a 2-car garage in Phibsborough. And, I just had graduated and had a good degree in engineering and some job offers. And my mother just couldn't understand. You've got to realise, even now, maybe yourself didn't know about mixed martial arts yet, but imagine 14 years ago, absolutely nobody had a clue about this sport.
Yeah.
And there was no career path in it. So you just didn't understand. My mother was visibly upset that it looked like I was throwing away a degree, and my dad wasn't too pushed either. But now they're my biggest fans. They know all the fighters. They come to the big shows in the Point, or I think it's the 2 Arena now, or 3 Arena.
3 Arena.
They come to my gym. My mother brings flapjacks on Wednesday and meets all the guys. So they're big fans now.
Well, that's good. It to the observer, to the outsider, it sounds incredibly violent.
Yeah, I'm always I get into debates with people about that word violence. I would say it's very competitive. Violence is, to me, is let's feel silly using this example, but the soccer players beating each other up, even though they're between 50 and 70, because that's not the sport they're playing. They're playing soccer, and they're hitting each other without it being in agreement. Whereas in mixed martial arts, or in boxing, or in taekwondo, you enter understanding the rules. Both athletes are trained for that particular form of competition. I completely concede the point. It's not for everybody. A lot of people watch it and are just completely put off by it. And that to me is a free society. If you don't like something, you turn it off. I've said it before. I'm not a fan of horse racing. I just don't watch it.
Right, there you go. Tell me about meeting Conor McGregor first.
Yeah, I've been coaching now for full-time 14 years, and during that time it's got to be thousands of young men and women that I've coached, and his first day was not a whole lot different than anybody else. There was no cloud splitting or ray of sunshine hitting me or anything. He just joined the gym. He was 16. It was apparent he came from Crumlin Boxing Club, which is a fantastic boxing club there, and he was already very good at boxing. He was the same personality you hear now. He's loud. People call him arrogant. He's confident. He's brash. He's very funny. He's very witty. He's incredibly sharp-minded. All those qualities were there when he was young. And any trainer, when they see somebody like that can also compete and fight very well, you start maybe thinking that in a couple of years' time, maybe this guy can do something. And now we're heading to Vegas in a week for him to fight. He's already Ireland's only UFC world champion, and possibly now he's going to be the world's first 2-weight class UFC world champion, holding 2 belts at the same time.
Explain that to me, please.
Well, he is the 145-pound world champion, and he's gone up a weight class to challenge for the 155-pound world title. If he wins, or as I would say, when he wins, he'll be the only fighter in history that has held two belts in 2 different weight classes at the same time. Maybe mirroring what the original Celtic warrior Steve Collins did, holding 2 boxing world titles in 2 different weight classes.
Right, and you say that he's also going to go for a third.
Well, that's you know how media works. I was asked the question, could he ever compete in another weight class? And I said, why not? I think he could maybe go up another weight class and challenge for that belt too. But right now we have a very tough opponent, the current lightweight champion, and that's our focus. So we will get that contest out of the way and then make a decision on what's next.
Do you do what, say, Joe Schmidt does with the rugby, analyse the opposition all the time?
Yeah, I tend to focus more on my competitor rather than looking at the opponent, because, for example, in his last well, not the last fight, but the fight before that, the opponent changed on 2 weeks' notice. Now, if we had a very strict game plan for that particular opponent, it would have been a disaster because his opponent was a completely different style of competitor. So instead, we tried to work on our own skills and just improve ourselves in all the areas of mixed martial arts. And then whoever the opponent is, we say it's a blank face. It's just a body, and we try to figure out where the weaknesses are and expose them and impose our own game, our own will, and eventually get the victory.
I presume that you need very strong will and belief, self-belief.
If you don't, and you've hit the nail on the head. A lot of people will say the way Conor speaks so confidently, I don't know, maybe it's an Irish thing. We're not supposed to be so confident. It comes across as arrogance. But if you're going to stand in the UFC octagon in front of 18,000 people with tens of millions of people watching you, if you have even beginnings of self-doubt, that will be magnified on the night. So you must have a bulletproof mindset and have 100% self-belief in yourself in order to do an extreme sport like this.
Right. I presume that was what Muhammad Ali was doing as well when he used to talk about being the greatest. What format does training take?
It's the same as Olympic athletes. I was actually just recently looking at the high performance team in the national stadium there, the boxers. They train incredibly hard, but it would take a similar format to that. We train twice a day, an afternoon session and an evening session. Obviously diet is incredibly important.
Is it? What kind of diet?
I'm often asked by this. There tends to be a lot of women messaging me about how to lose weight for. I've had women ask how to lose weight for wedding dresses and stuff like that. I think right now everybody knows what a good diet is. Everybody knows that processed food isn't a great idea. Everybody knows that cake is not a great idea. So it's not incredibly difficult to work out that we good meat, good fish, good vegetables, and a little bit of fruit, and nuts, and plenty of water. There's no rocket science. There's no shelves worth of supplements. I don't really believe in all that. So just good, healthy food and moderate portions. Don't be eating huge amounts of food. But I don't believe anybody at this stage doesn't know what a good diet is, and that's what we follow.
Right. And you say about him, and I presume your other clients, that it's just work, practice.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the 10,000 hour rule. That if you have good not just practice, but it has to be good practice, and you do something. Like Conor's with me since he's 16. He's 27 now, and it's in the last 2 years or so that he's been making a lot of noise on the world stage. But what people didn't see was the 9 years before that, where we were working in the gym day in, day out, perfecting the skills.
And how do you earn your living if you're not? I mean, I presume that the money comes through the big events and all of that. So for that 9 years while he was getting ready, presumably it was slimmer pickings.
It was we were scraping along, yeah. So maybe he can be a little bit brash now about what he has, but I can tell you when we were pushing his girlfriend's car down the car park trying to get it started on cold winter nights after doing a third or fourth session that day, it was tough, and the sport right now is just in the beginning stages of getting recognition from the Irish Sports Council, but there's no funding, still is no funding, and
is there not?
No, it was right now we're kind of in the process. We're in national governing body status. We're underneath the Wrestling Association, which is a fantastic association, and the Irish Sports Council have been very good to us over the years. But it's starting off last year. Just a couple of months ago, Conor was recognised by the RTE Sports Personality of the Year Awards. He was nominated. The fantastic young boxer Conor got it. I thought he deserved it. He's a great personality, great athlete, and we're starting to get your good self bringing me in here to talk about this. So it's getting some momentum, and behind the scenes, I get a lot of messages from politicians and members of the Irish rugby team, members of the Irish soccer team, a lot of GA teams telling us they're very impressed with what we're doing and come down and watch some of the training sessions, and they're seeing the the positive of what we're doing. And
right. Well, on that note now, I've a text in here saying, I would be horrified if my son wanted to get into that violent MMA. Conor McGregor is hardly a role model for any child. I suppose a lot of children wouldn't mind it. Is hardly a role model for any child with his monumental ego. That so-called, this is another call, that so-called sport is barbaric and should be banned. There's 2 calls on that.
I guess they're not fans. All I would say is that for kids, if you were to look at somebody that has dedicated themselves to something, has kept their body in incredible shape their whole life, has worked extremely hard for something, and has reached a goal that no one in Ireland has ever done before, if that work ethic is not something to admire, I'm not too sure what is. But I fully concede that this sport is not for everybody.
Are there much injuries?
I would say it's around about the same as all professional full contact sports, like in rugby or in American football and in boxing. You know, all of these sports fall around about the same. You're going to get knocks and bangs. Now, in my gym on the Nace Road, we have around about 700 members, and the vast majority of them are training in on a part-time basis. We've about 150 kids in our kids program. We don't let them do head contact or anything like that, and we introduce the skills in a sensible level. And for me, I think the real danger for kids nowadays is not doing sport. Obesity is a much bigger problem than anything you're going to find in mixed martial arts or in rugby or in boxing. So for me, I would love to see kids just doing any sport. I don't mind if it's mine or if it's, the enemy is not a different sport. The enemy is no sport. So that the real danger for kids is no sport.
Right. Well, now there's another big event coming up, and it's in Las Vegas. Anybody that got up in the middle of the night, or indeed anybody that made the trip, didn't get much time to get bang for their buck, did they?
No, the last one was a quick one. When the bout starts, I start standing on the canvas, and then by the time you walk and sit into the corner, it was over. It was 13 seconds. Actually 11 seconds if you watch it carefully, but it was clocked at 13 seconds. But I do think this one will be a longer contest. He's gone up a weight class. It's a big, strong guy. I think there'll be some interesting exchanges, and I promise to give the Irish fans maybe a little bit more to look at this time.
Right. Okay. Well. I mean, congratulations on it. All those kind of things would frighten the living daylights out of me, but then I'm just a wimp, as they say. Anyway, listen, John Kavanagh, thank you very much indeed for coming in, and I wish you every success.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. Now it's 12.